Mm. 17 minutes of Confucianism is too long, so I'm going to do Buddhism a little bit faster, try to make it a list form. First of all, if you're going to learn about Buddhism today, you're going to make sure you've studied Hinduism. Hinduism in the book and the lectures that I provide. Because Buddhism is an offshoot, I would liken it to a Protestant faith of Hinduism. Buddha was a Hindu, so it matters. In Hinduism and Buddhism, you'll find reincarnation and you'll find karma and you will find the concept of life is suffering. So please make sure you do Hinduism first. Motivation to know Buddhism. Well, first of all, Buddhism is also really a way of life, so it's applicable in anybody's life. You don't actually have to pray to Buddha, and I'll get to that later, to be a good practicing Buddhist. Another reason why we should learn about Buddhism, and slowly and patiently, is we're going to read the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, and you need to have some sort of mastery of Buddhism going into that. Plus, it's in chapter 3, plus it's on the AP exam. So first of all, to understand Buddhism is to understand the Buddha. Here's your definition. Buddha means enlightened one or teacher. Enlightened. Enlightened person knows what's right, whatever the situation might be. Enlightened beings know the truth. They know the meaning for existence. They always seem to know the answer why. That's why we liken Buddha to being enlightened, and of course, since he tries to pass on that information, we often liken the term Buddha to be teacher. So he's an enlightened being or enlightened teacher. There is historical evidence that there was a Buddha, the Buddha. His name is Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha Gautama. And he lived around 560 BCE. So, to be very honest, he was walking the earth at the same time as Confucius was. Difference is, Buddha was born in northern India or southern Nepal. I would say it's hard to narrow it down to where. So, Siddhartha Gautama, my gosh, it's an interesting story. Just like Confucius was an interesting story, it led to his ism. Buddha, his youth, led to his ism. Siddhartha Gautama was born to wealth and affluence, prosperity, power. He was good looking. I know. We always think of him as a fat guy you rub his stomach. So, Siddhartha Gautama was born a kshatriya, a warrior class. His father was a prince, king. Do understand, there's limited evidence that his father was the king of the Shakya clan, but there could have been a lot of powerful kshatriyas, and he, the father, and Siddhartha are just one of many. But whatever the case may be, he was a leader. He was powerful. Siddhartha, in many ways, was next in line to be even more powerful. So take that in there. The fact that we always think of Siddhartha and Buddhism as loving and nurturing, and the actual Buddha is this big fat guy you rub his belly. Why? Why did that happen? I guess we could talk about that in class. So what happened to Siddhartha? When he was quite young, and some say it was when he was in utero, the family had a soothsayer come in, a fortune teller, if you will, and tell the family that this child, I know it sounds like Angel Gabriel, if you will, this child that is going to be born or has been born, depending on what document you're going with, is going to have a fork in the road. They're going to reach a point in their life, and they are going to make a major decision. They are going to stay with the family, the Kshatriya powerhouse that was in the Shakya clan. They're going to stay with the family. They are going to be nurtured, and they're going to be powerful, and they're going to be the rulers of the Shakya. And the Shakya be the rulers of northern India. Power, fame, glory, ladies. Or he's going to choose the other fork in the road, and he's going to give it all up. He's literally going to abdicate his power. He's going to leave the Shakya clan. He's not going to believe in wealth and prosperity and power. He's going to give it all up, and he's going to be the savior of millions. Take that. So he's going to be an ascetic, but the savior of millions. So the dad, for the rest of his power, the dad tries to take Siddhartha as a child and hide him or shield him from the outside world. He wants to make sure his son Siddhartha has everything that a child would want, so that the son stays inside the confines of the Shaka clan. Siddhartha loves it. Everybody thinks he's awesome. He's popular. The ladies fan him with palm trees, But then supposedly, part of the story is Siddhartha goes on a walk and he sees the 4 famous sights. While on the walk, he sees an old man, a sick man, a poor man, a dead man. And these are things that Siddhartha had often been shielded from, the realities of life. You're gonna die. You're gonna be fearful of poverty. You're gonna get sick, no matter how studly you are. After this, the 4 famous sights, as they call them, Siddhartha realizes that life is kind of becoming futile. Like living in this beautiful place and driving his Hummer or his Escalade is a little futile if in the end none of it matters. You don't take it on to the next life. Now, all of his life, he's been a Hindu, relatively a practicing Hindu, not a Brahmin, but a practicing Hindu. But he makes a choice, and his choice is to leave. And the story simply is he leaves his wife, he leaves his child, and he lives an ascetic life. And for the rest of his life, and you can learn more about this on your own, he basically tries his hardest to purify his soul and preach to people what true meaning of existence is. And yes, there will be a point where he sits under a Bodhi tree for 40 days, 40 nights with Noah, and when he wakens up, he is the Buddha. He's enlightened. He understands the meaning for existence. Now, I did a very much a Cliff Notes version there because I needed to get to a point here. So, when he's preaching and he's traveling around northern India, first of all, he preaches that Hinduism is a faith, but it's got some issues. And let's list them out. He doesn't like the role of the polytheism that is Hinduism. Why are you worshiping so many gods? Why are you putting gods and what they want and their stories in front of your own life? Why are you learning from gods and their stories, the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas? Learn from oneself. So to be honest, now listen, this is careful. Some Buddhists worship Buddha like he's a god and he's coming back or he's out there that you can worship. But most Buddhists do not believe Buddha is a god. Most Buddhists believe he was a teacher, he was an enlightened being, he's taught a lesson, and that's it. Learn from his mistakes, learn from his choices. So that's why some people don't even call Buddhism a religion. Now, since most Buddhists do believe in reincarnation, that's the afterlife, then yeah, I would have to call it a religion. But imagine a religion without an emphasis on deities. Now, the Hindus, they hear about this over time, and they're pretty smart. And basically one of the first things they do is they make Buddha a Hindu god. They add him and his teachings to the pantheon. Brilliant. Machiavellian. What else? Okay, so here is Siddhartha. He's preaching the Buddha, and another thing he preaches is that the caste system is unnatural. You being born in a certain place, status in life, it's schmo. These are social constructs. Society says you are born this because your dad is this. So he doesn't like polytheism or gods at all. He doesn't like the caste system. And finally, he doesn't like Dharma. He doesn't believe in Dharma. Now, the Dharma I'm talking about is the Hindu Dharma, where you must obey your role in society. You have to obey your caste role. You have to obey your duty. Duty. You shouldn't have to obey anything that anybody puts upon you. You put upon yourself what you put upon yourself. Now, there is a Buddhist word called Dharma, typically capitalized D. The capitalized D in Dharma, the Buddhist version, usually means Buddha's teachings. And I'm sorry that there's confusion, okay? Now, let's talk about what other things that Buddha actually did teach. He believed in asceticism, give up all wealthy pleasures. He believed in living a life of a middle way, yin yang, not very passionate, not living a life of extremes, trying to find balance of your life. He believed that the goal of all Buddhists, all beings, should be reach a state of nirvana. Now, nirvana is similar to moksha. Moksha means you've reached a pinnacle in your soul and you can rejoin the universal soul, the Atman, or the Brahmana. Well, Buddha says, okay, no. You don't rejoin any universal soul. Nirvana is you've reached perfection in your life and then your soul through reincarnations, and then you're done. You don't ever have to come back. Nirvana is bliss where you cease to exist, which sounds depressing to many, especially if you're a Christian. Let's say you have this high opinion of what heaven might look like. Buddhists believe that every time you come back to life through reincarnation, you've been punished. And because life is suffering. And I'll probably talk more about that with Hinduism. So basically, he's got some extreme views about that. Now, what I like about, here comes Max. Say hi, Max.
Hi. Hey, is that grass?
I'm talking to myself because I'm talking to my students.
Hi.
Hi. Can you give me 5 more minutes to talk to myself?
Yeah.
Okay. I love you. Agapi.
Oh, wait, no.
Okay. So, all right. What I really like about Buddhism is Siddhartha tries to say that there's a guide. There's a step-by-step process to becoming a Buddhist, reaching nirvana. And that is the 4 noble truths. Here they are. Noble truth number 1. You have to accept it. Life is suffering. Number 2. Suffering is caused by cravings and desires. Meaning, your desire to be happy is a craving, and if you're not happy, thus you're suffering, that's your fault. So relationships with your friends and your loved ones and the boyfriends and grades on tests are all part of suffering, and it's all because of you. You. Number 3, if you want to be enlightened, you need to get away and break free from all cravings and desires. You must not desire to have a faux hawk, desire to have 2 eyebrows when really God gave you 1. Sorry to use that term, sorry. Yeah, that's not easy, by the way, breaking away from cravings and desires. And then finally, number 4, the 4 noble truths. You must believe in the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path, I'm not going to be specific on it all. It is 8 guidelines to how to live. Now, none of them are, if you do this, you burn in hell. Nothing like that. It's not even as, if you will, strict as the 10 Commandments. One of the Eightfold Path is right speech. Like the Tao Te Ching, like Taoism, it's really broad and ambiguous. So what is right speech to you is not necessarily what's right speech to me. So the Eightfold Path is purposely broad and ambiguous so everybody can interpret it their own way. The 4 noble truths, step-by-step guidelines, but not easy. I encourage you all to try and break free from cravings and desires. You let me know how that goes. Now, Buddhism has a very global impact. Not that there's a lot of Buddhists around the world, but it spreads easily. It doesn't demand the Brahmins. It doesn't demand the caste system. It doesn't demand the hereditary birth of Hinduism. So where Hinduism is the faith, the religion of India, the subcontinent, Buddhism has spread. Buddhism crosses the Himalayas and goes to Tibet. And with Tibet, of course, we have the Dalai Lama. Southeast Asia is largely Buddhist because it spreads so well. I could probably talk a little bit, but this is, 2 minutes less than 17, so we should be pretty happy. So, 4 noble truths, Eightfold Path, the story of Siddhartha, the similarities and, of course, differences with Hinduism. Why Hinduism is trapped, why Buddhism spreads. I'm talking with my hands a lot today. I'm going to go make the kids some hamburgers. All right? Take care.